In America today, a lack of emergency funds is becoming, well, an emergency. It's said that about 40% of Americans could not handle an unexpected $400 expense. I mean, that's terrifying. Think about it, living with so much uncertainty that a broken down car, busted washing machine, busted furnace could be the difference between going further into debt or wiping out all of your savings. And that's scary, but it doesn't have to be that way. Make sure to stick around until the end of the video because I'm going to be sharing with you what I personally see in my practice as the biggest hurdle that individuals typically have with building true wealth and achieving financial freedom. In this video, I'm going to talk about getting your emergency fund started and key principles that you can use and start using today to help get you on track with an emergency fund and get it built up to an acceptable level so that you are not wiped out by a $400 expense and to put you above and beyond the average American. But quickly, if you're new here, my name is Eric James. I'm a CPA and a registered investment advisor, and this channel is dedicated to helping you make smart financial decisions and putting you on the path to financial freedom. If that sounds like the kind of content that you're interested in, please consider subscribing and hitting the bell notification so that you're updated every time I upload a new video. And now that that's out of the way, let's jump in. I want to kick this off by first talking briefly about what an emergency fund is and why it is so important and so really vital to have an emergency fund. If you think about what an emergency fund is, you can really just think of it as a basket of money, be that a separate account, be it cash under the pillow or under the mattress, which I do not recommend, that you do not touch really no matter what. Unless there is a true emergency like the broken down car, the broken down furnace, you don't touch that money, and that money is there for a rainy day. Having an emergency fund really changes everything. I mean, think about putting yourself in the shoes of someone who lives day to day and they have this dark cloud looming over their head. Oh my gosh, if something bad happens, if an unexpected expense comes up, if my car breaks down, I am screwed, and that is not a good place to be in. And really, I would say that you cannot make good financial decisions, or at least long-term financial decisions, with that mindset because you're so fixated on the short term. But when you have an emergency fund that's properly funded and has enough money in there to cover you, even if things go wrong, I mean, it's like a weight is lifted off of your shoulders. You can start thinking long term. You can think, oh my gosh, if I have to go without income for a couple of months, I can do it, and I can wait until a good job opportunity opens up or a new chance in the marketplace opens up. I mean, really, it gives you so much freedom, and it's really such an easy concept, but so few people have an emergency fund in place. So next, let's talk about how much you should have in your emergency fund. Now, please keep in mind that this number is going to be different for every single situation, and what I'm about to give you are rules of thumb. These are really just kind of a gut check to see where you're at, if you need more, if you need to improve. Really just gives you a basic idea of where you're at, and you can use that to adjust as necessary depending on your specific situation. For married couples, the rule of thumb is to have about 3 months worth of expenses in your emergency fund. Now, that is with the assumption that you and your spouse work in separate industries with separate companies, and the risk of both of you guys losing your jobs is pretty dang low. If you guys find yourself both at the same employer or in the same industry, you might want to look at expanding that to 6 months worth of expenses for your emergency fund. For an individual, the rule of thumb is 6 months worth of expenses because you've only got your income, and if that goes away, you better have a bit of a cushion to support you. And now, I don't think that this advice would be complete in 2020 given everything that is going on and all of the uncertainty. So with that, what I am typically recommending to my clients is to take that initial rule of thumb and add an additional 2 to 6 months worth of expenses to their emergency fund to make sure that they're covered for sometimes up to a year. Me personally, I like to keep about a year's worth of expenses in my emergency fund, and really that's purely for the peace of mind because I know that if something happens to my income for an extended period of time, I will not have to move back in with my parents. So now you say, okay, Eric, this all sounds great. I don't have an emergency fund yet, or it's not up to snuff. I'm not at whatever rule of thumb that I think that I should be at. How do I get started? And what I want to talk about is something that is extremely important for emergency funds, for retirement savings, for a lot of things related to money, and that is the concept of paying yourself first. And what's crazy is that a lot of people have not heard about the concept of paying yourself first. And the idea is really that as soon as you get paid, you take a percentage of that income and you automatically put it away, either into an emergency fund or into your retirement account or whatever fund it may be. You take that every single time you get paid and you put it away, and then what is left over is used to pay bills, living expenses, and for fun things. And this way you know for certain that you are moving in the right direction towards your financial goals, whatever they may be, every single month. And like I hinted at the very beginning of this video, the biggest hurdle that I see individuals face when they're trying to put together an emergency fund or save for retirement or really just build towards financial freedom, the biggest hurdle that I typically see is an inflationary lifestyle. You may also know this as lifestyle creep, and essentially what it becomes is that as soon as people start making more money, they start to spend more money. We encounter inflationary lifestyles with almost everyone that we know. I mean, think about it. Someone gets a raise at work and all of a sudden they buy a new watch, a new phone, they buy a new car, they take on more debt, bigger payments. And even though they're making more money, they're not saving more money. And thus lies the problem with the inflationary lifestyle. It really prevents you from ever creating true wealth as you continue to be dollar in, dollar out, no matter how much money you're making. Now, how do you avoid an inflationary lifestyle, you may ask? Well, it's kind of easy. Don't spend more money. Jokes aside, I know how hard it can be to not fall victim to an inflationary lifestyle. Me personally, when I graduated college and watched my income triple, it was really hard to not start spending all of that free cash, especially when I had been living on basically nothing for a long time. A strategy that I recommend is that, for example, if you're making an extra $200 a month because of a raise, you set aside at least half of that and put that away towards your financial future, your savings account, retirement account, whatever it may be. And then the other half, enjoy it. You've earned it. So to recap, in this video we talked about what an emergency fund is, why it is so dang important, how much you should have saved based on rules of thumb, the concept of paying yourself first, and the trap that is an inflationary lifestyle. I hope that you got some value out of this, and if you did, please consider dropping a like, and if you're interested in content that helps you make smarter financial decisions, please consider subscribing. With all that being said, thank you so much for watching, farewell, and good luck.